How are you?
Good. How are you?
Awesome.
Make sure I record. So thank you guys. I'm so excited you guys are all on here today. Our team did some incredible things in July, and we earned this amazing opportunity to jump on and kind of pick Megan's brain a little bit, hear a little bit about her background story. So way to go. That is freaking amazing. But if you want to just kind of start off and tell us a little bit about you, I don't know how you've been doing all your other calls, but you can kind of
Yeah,
start. And then I read out some questions, and if you guys have other questions, you can put them in the chat and kind of go through them.
sure. Has anybody been on my call already in the past month? No? Okay. Because sometimes people have like just come off a call with me from like a week ago and they're like, I've already heard your story. And I'm like, okay, let me not.
No, I don't, like, a lot of them are like, has she done fitness before? Is this like new? So I don't think a lot of them know a lot of your story.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So I'll try to kind of blast through my story. And then I definitely want to take some time to answer all of your questions because I know you know the nuts and the bolts of the program by now because many of you have probably been doing it. So I want to make sure that we dive in a little bit deeper than just the surface level stuff too. So basically, I got into fitness when I was very young. I kind of fell into doing figure competitions at 14 years old. And so most people think when they hear that I must have come from a very fit and healthy family. And that couldn't have been further from the truth. I just honestly was a very active kid. Had the opportunity to start strength training and absolutely fell in love with it and started competing. But the rest of my family was very sedentary and we all had horrible eating habits. And so I've been telling this story like an example of how bad our eating habits were. My mother would be horrified, but when I was younger, we would eat pizza like multiple times a week, like probably like 3 to 4 times a week. And one time my parents decided like we can't be eating pizza this much, we need to eat healthier. So they weren't going to call for pizza anymore. And it got a couple weeks had gone by and the phone rings and my mom answers the phone and they're like, Mr. and Mrs. Davies, are you okay? And my mom's like, yeah, we're okay. Well, this is the pizza company and we just want to check in on you because you haven't ordered any pizza lately. And since you are okay, maybe it's something we did. Can we send you over a free pie? And so we always joke about this moment because if the pizza company is calling you to do basically a welfare check, like, you know, you've gone wrong. You've gone wrong in many ways. And so this was my family. And when we would decide we wanted to eat healthier, yes, we knew, okay, we're going to eat more vegetables. But outside of that, we really didn't know what to do. Seems silly now looking back, but we would go for a lot of like diet, fat-free, sugar-free, any of those buzzwords. And so we ended up eating a lot of empty calories a lot of times. We kind of go on this roller coaster of my family gaining weight and losing weight and doing it in all the wrong ways. And so I had been a few years into competing when my family came to watch one of my competitions. They were sitting in the audience. I came down out during intermission to say hi to everybody. I sat down next to my dad and I looked at him and I go, Daddy, I feel so sorry for you. And at the time he looks at me, he's like, you're my 16-year-old daughter. What do you feel sorry for me for? And he was 47 years old. He had about a 42-inch waist. He started to have a host of health issues because of his weight. But honestly, it didn't occur to me at that time that my dad was overweight. What I did see was he was not doing any of the things that he loved to do, that at some point in his life, he was active, that he liked to work out, that he played football at one point in his life, and he wasn't doing any of the working himself into the ground. He was stressed all the time. Those are the things that I could see. Your kids want you to be happy and healthy, just like you want that for them. And I was just lucky to have the, always lucky to kind of fumble. He decided to make a change in that moment and to not only lose the weight for good me and doing a bodybuilding show by the time he was 50. And so he took him about a year to lose the weight, but he did it in all the ways that he always did it, which was basically himself down, gym, doing cardio. That wasn't sustainable. Plus, looked like a body he needed to learn about nutrition, how to fuel fuel. Anybody looking would have thought I was the reality about nutrition. I got involved, and my dad got on stage. By the time he turned 50, his goal was not to embarrass himself, he always says, but he got on that stage and ended up winning the men's over 50 masters division. He got first place in his division, and I got to go on stage and give him his trophy. It was just kind of this cherry on top moment to this transformation we had made together as a family. I think it's so important to make sure everybody in your household is on board. Nobody gets out of needing to move their bodies and eat healthier, right? Like, some people tell me, well, my husband doesn't need that because he's already, thin, or my kids don't need that, they're already thin. It has nothing to do with being thin. I was super fit looking, but I was horribly out at not healthy. So it has nothing to do with being thin. It just has to do with overall well-being and taking care of ourselves. Everybody in your family should be on board with this. And so we really made this transformation to such a point where we ended up opening a gym together. And so for many years, that was my day-to-day life, still is, in between creating Beachbody programs. Now I'm in a gym with my parents and my brother. And we just train the average person that wants to lose some fat, gain some muscle, and feel better about themselves. I don't train athletes. I don't train celebrities. I just train people that want to make a change in their life, just like we did back then. I got my opportunity with Beachbody through the reality show called The 20s. We created a Clean Week. And while I loved creating Clean Week for who it's for, what it's for, introducing people into Beachbody, I also knew that I wanted my program, my thing. And if there's anything that I use in my training and also for my clients and customers at my gym, it's lifting heavy and moving fast. And so that's what this program is all about. It's about gaining muscle to raise our metabolism up. How many of you have had either customers or yourselves say, my metabolism is just so low. My metabolism died. I don't have a metabolism. Everybody says this, right? And because it's so difficult. And so that's what we're trying to do in our workouts, is raise that metabolism up and make some of these changes last. So that way you don't feel like you're in this constant rat race of going on this roller coaster ride, just like my family was back then. We have both nutrition programs included in this challenge pack, so take advantage of that with your challengers, because if you do not pair this with correct nutrition, you're not going to see the results that you want. I've had a couple people say, well, what am I doing wrong? It's the nutrition. I promise you, if you're not seeing the results that you want, it is the nutrition. There is some sort of little key that you haven't found yet, and just be open-minded enough to realize that this is not a perfect process, that you're never going to have your nutrition perfect, that the workouts are never going to be perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. So we're always constantly going through this process and making little tweaks to one thing or another. There's always something to be learned. There's always something to change. As you change, your nutrition, your workouts need to change. So this is always an evolution, a process that you're going to be going through. There's no finish line to this, guys. So let that excite you instead of overwhelm you. It's just one day at a time where we're making these small changes and getting moving. So I just want to, lastly, before I take a couple of questions, because I know, we only have so much time today, but lastly, I just want to challenge you guys to, yes, pick up those heavier dumbbells. Yes, move fast. I mean, that's all relative. Weight is relative to you. It doesn't have to be how much weight I lift, but just picking up the next heavier pair of dumbbells from what you've been using. Maybe it's not every day, but when it's appropriate, when you can have good form, pick up those heavier dumbbells. And then the other thing I want to challenge you with is taking that step into MBFA. I actually want you guys to think of this as a 6-week program instead of 2 3-week programs. Because everybody in my test group and my success starters was worried about taking that step. Everybody had success going into MBFA after 1 round of MBF. You will be able to do it. These are still traditional movements, just like MBF was. It's just more volume of work. You have 4 to 5 more minutes of work in each exercise. And if you complete MBF, you can do 4 to 5 more minutes of work. And if you need to modify, if you need to take a break, if you need to move slower, if you need to go lighter in weights, these are all things you can still do. And you still have Lacey modifying for you to show you exactly how to make this workout work for you. So don't see that little A at the end of MBF and think, well, now this program is not for me. It is for you. I promise you. I've had all levels go into MBFA. When you do multiple cycles of this program, I still want you to end MBFA and go back to MBF. This isn't a situation where you do one or the other, because we prioritize certain movements in MBF that you will no longer see in MBFA, and you're going to lose something if you only stay in MBFA land after that. And so last little tidbit, we have 10-minute bonus content videos that are going to come out with MBFA. I believe that's the launch date is August 28th. Don't quote me on that. But when these bonus content videos come out, these 10-minute finishers, on your second round, if you wanted to, and you don't have to, but if you want to raise MBF up to the same level as MBFA, maybe even a little bit higher, you're going to add these little 10-minute finishers onto the end of the MBF workouts and go through the 6-week cycle again. So that's an option for you to just raise MBF up to that next step if you want to. Like I said, I'm perfectly happy you going MBF, MBFA, MBF, MBFA, because we also want a cycle in our training where we're lower and higher and lower and higher. That also gives your body more recovery time, and that's when we build up the muscles during that recovery time. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to go back to MBF and just do MBF as it is. And yes, lift heavier, yes, go faster. We don't always need to be at 900% and longer workouts though. So just take some solace in that too, that you don't have to add the 10 minutes if you don't want to either. So from here, I'd love to answer any questions that you guys have for the last few minutes that we have, and dive into those a little bit.
Awesome. Okay, so the first one was being a Beachbody trainer part of your goals, or did you see that? I don't know, is my internet cutting in and out really bad?
No, I can hear you.
Okay, my thing is freaking out. But it was just was that part of the plan? Did you see the 20s and you're like, I want to be the next Beachbody trainer, or how did that happen?
So the funniest thing is I did not know what Beachbody was when I entered the 20s at all. I had actually met Tony Horton. I spent an entire day with Tony Horton. I knew what P90X was. I had done P90X. I had no idea what Beachbody was. And going into the 20s, I kind of got pulled into that kicking and screaming, because if there's another thing you guys can know about me, I'm very introverted. And if you would have told me a couple of years ago that I'd be talking to a group on Zoom, that I'd be going on stage at things like summits, I would have been like, you're crazy. I don't have any interest in doing that. No, thank you. So this was definitely not part of the plan. I got a call asking me to be on the reality show, and I was like, yeah, no, thank you. And they were like, but we really think you would be great for it. And I was like, no. And then they called me again a second time, and they were like, it's for Beachbody. And I went, I don't know what that is, and I don't want to do it. And then third time's a charm. I literally only put in the videos because I was like, they're not going to pick me. At the time I was doing some fitness modeling, which is why I even had anybody calling me at all for a reality show. But it was literally I would run and somebody would take pictures of me. It wasn't anything where I had to talk or anything like that. Like I said, introverted. So still camera was fine with me, and video camera was something completely different. And so when I didn't know, I had been a trainer for many years, and I came into Beachbody or the 20s with a lot of misconceptions about what Beachbody would be. I walked in on the first day, and that's when I put the pieces together that it was already that it was the Shakeology company. Had no idea that until the first day of the 20s. And I went, oh, it's the Shake company. I don't know if I can get involved with the Shake company. I figured their workouts were going to dig people into the ground, trying to just make them puke for the before and afters. They're probably starving people down for the before and afters. I came in with every misconception a trainer outside of Beachbody would have. And through the process of having all these different challenges that were in the 20s, those misconceptions started being broken down. I had to learn about what was in Shakeology. I was drinking Shakeology every single day because it was free and it was in the house. And doing the workout programs, we had no cell phones, no internet, no TV, no music, no contact with the outside world for 8 weeks while we filmed the reality show. So we only had BOD. So I did so many of the workouts. I did so many of the recipes in the kitchen. And so I really came to realize that Beachbody was the company that my family needed when we were trying to make those changes and we didn't know how to. Like, okay, vegetables, but what outside of vegetables? This is the company that we needed. So I very much went from dragging my feet to I have to be involved in this company. So then it became important to me. But before then, I had no interest in being a public speaker, I think, and just no knowledge of what Beachbody was beforehand.
I love it. Okay. I know there was probably tons of challenges while filming MBF and everything going on while in a pandemic. How did you get through those like super tough days when I know you say was a plan A, B, C, F, Z? Like, how did you mentally get through that, knowing to prepare, like get on a flight, you're filming now? How did you go through that?
So, yeah, it was crazy. Like at the beginning of the year, we had our plan, and then basically we were supposed to announce at Punta Cana at the Success Club trip. And then that got canceled. And so even the announcement got pushed back. And then we didn't even know if we were going to get a permit to be able to film because everything was starting to be shut down. And so very quickly it went from the biggest set and the biggest cast ever to like, we don't even know if we can put a program together. And, as Beachbody trainers, we wait a long time to get what our next thing is going to be. It's not like we get to come out with one every single year. So it was like, this is my moment, and it was falling apart. So definitely a lot of fear and anxiety at the beginning of the year. But once we started to pivot, it was just kind of like, I came up with that theme in my head of despite all obstacles, like it's not going to shut down. If I have to film this in my living room with my iPhone by myself, then that is what we're going to do. We're going to come out with a program. So it just became despite all obstacles that we're going to get this done. And like you said, not plan A, B, C, D, E, whatever. We pivoted so many times until we ended up with the Zoom cast like we have it now. Even going through those first few days of filming, this is not something that anybody had done before. I had to actually interact with my cast virtually. It wasn't just like them doing the workouts and then plugging it in. It was an interaction. And some days I wouldn't be able to hear them at all. I'm like working out, I'm asking them questions, they're saying something, I'm like, great. So if you hear me respond at an inappropriate time, like talking over them, it's because I'm like, I don't know if anybody's talking to me right now. So there was just certain things like that we had to overcome and keep moving forward. And I think at the end of the day, it's exactly what everybody needed in the right time. And so it ended up being a blessing in disguise that all of these things happened. My cast is filming in their living rooms. They're in their living room just like you guys are. That is their exact living room, except for Lacey. Lacey is secretly on a living room set in another room in the studio. She's the only one with a fake living room because we just needed to make sure she was well lit and always able to be seen and heard because of the importance of Lacey. But other than that, everybody's in their house. You see people coming into their kitchen and making themselves like a bowl of cereal, like Paula's roommate did one time. You see cats coming up and blocking their screen. They didn't have hair and makeup. They didn't have wardrobe. They, had their iPhone, did all their own lighting. So this was just real life every single day. And I think people needed to see that and connect with it. And then I also just think that people needed Team Beachbody right now. Like they needed you guys. They needed to have that community and that support. So just get them moving and focus on something other than the complete like craziness that is going on this year. Like they needed you guys. So I think it just came in at the right time. And you guys have been crushing it, rolling it out.
We're so grateful. I had a lot of questions about intermittent fasting. I don't know if you can touch on it like super quickly because I know you probably have to leave in like a minute or two, but.
Yeah. Intermittent fasting, I'm a fan. I don't think it's like something that you absolutely have to do in order to get results. I'm not somebody who's like, this is the one way or the highway and this is the only way you're going to get results. I think it's a great option. And I think when you're looking for things that work for you, that this is always a trial period, right? I think too often we get so frustrated that we just throw everything out the window instead of maybe making small tweaks, like maybe including Portion Fix and just adding intermittent fasting, or including UPF and just adding intermittent fasting. I think these things can all mix well with each other. The one thing I always kind of try to hit home is don't get distracted while you're dieting either. Don't get distracted by every little buzzword that comes at you and then be pulling from a million places. Like, find what you are going to try and stick with it. Not for 1 week, not for 2 weeks, not even for my 6-week program. I want you guys sticking with it for 6 months, a year, mastering that nutrition program, because you're not going to see results if you keep on distracted dieting and changing your path every other week. So give yourself that time to master something. It doesn't take, reading through the materials one time to master something and know you have it down. It doesn't work like that. So give yourself some time to really dive into those materials, to practice it day in and day out, to make tweaks along the way. That's how you're going to start seeing success with that nutrition program.
Perfect. Great answer. Okay, last thing. What is your favorite Shakeology recipe?
So my go-to thing is just Shakeology and water, like 1 scoop, some water that I don't even actually measure out. I'm just like, that looks like a good amount of water, and I shake and I drink and I call it a day. That is what I do, only because I am so oversimplified in how I eat 90% of the time. Like, I don't make crazy recipes. This is just something I don't do. I don't like cooking and I don't like cleaning, so I'm not going to do it. It doesn't work for me. But if I had to pick a recipe for Shakeology, it is, which one do I want to give you? I think especially right now, just because it's summer and this one is kind of my own thing. I gave this one to Beachbody the other day, and the nutritionist actually messaged me and was like, you are the first one to actually give us something that we haven't even touched on yet. He's like, you've put 2 things in a shake that we've never put into a shake before, which is cucumber, lemon juice, and lemon zest. And I don't think they had used lemon zest in a shake ever before either. So I do like a half a cucumber, squeeze of lemon juice, and then a little bit of lemon zest in vanilla Shakeology. Blend it all together with water, milk if you guys want. And that is my favorite recipe for sure.
Perfect. That is awesome. All right. Well, I know you have to head out, so let's get a group photo before. Let me try and make this nice and big so we can get everyone. There's multiple screens, so everyone just has to smile. Okay. There we go. All right. 3, 2, 1, smile. All right, second screen. Oh, here we go. I'm cutting in and out. Okay. Everyone's frozen on my screen. So take all your photos. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right. Hopefully I got some good ones. Thank you so much for your time, Megan. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
I have one quick question. How many grams of protein do you intake a day? Around, especially with the program?
And so long. I actually don't even remember what I would have done in the past. I haven't tracked in so long. I used to track more like UPF or more like macro counting when I was competing, and I haven't competed in 6 or 7 years now. And I've probably been doing more to be mindset guided, even though I didn't call it that back then, more to be mindset guided stuff since I haven't been competing. I'm going to have to get back to you on that one. I'll post it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys all for jumping on. Hope you have an awesome Monday, and we'll see you on the team call tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.